Alex Rowley, around 8 minutes, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The debate today has been positive in the recognition that we must take action when it comes to climate change. Equally, we must recognise that where people's livelihoods are dependent on jobs that extract or depend on the use of fossil fuels, then we must provide an alternative which protects their livelihoods and the communities that have historically relied on carbon-based economy for their jobs. So it has been said in today's debate, and as the Just Transition Partnership states, a just transition means moving to a modern low-carbon economy in a way in which it protects workers' livelihoods, creates a new industrial base and delivers a fairer Scotland. While considering the impact of such a transition to our economy, it is both welcome and important that we must acknowledge that this is not an easy thing to do. Our starting point must surely to be honest about the progress we are making today. Moving to a carbon-neutral economy is not a small or simple task, but the consequences of doing nothing are unimaginable, and we will never be forgiven by the generations to come who will pay the price of that failure. As Claudia Beamish reminded us, last year's publication of the special report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change told us that half a degree of warming would put hundreds of millions of people at risk of climate-related poverty, and there would not be a country in the world that would escape the consequences of that. We do need action in every country to combine climate change, and sometimes that can seem such a tall order, and people think, as individuals, I can't change the world. However, as Pope Francis has said, we need a conversation which includes everyone, since the environmental challenges we are undergoing and its human roots concern and affect us all. He continues, obstructionist attitudes, even on the part of believers, can range from denial of the problem to indifference, nonchalant resignation, or blind confidence in technical solutions. We require a new and universal solidarity. So in terms of that inclusiveness, we must engage with the very industries we seek to change. And this is why Labour is calling for the establishment of a statutory long-term Just Transition Commission that has the necessary funding, is independent of government and is representative of industry and the workforce where change is most needed. I also make the point again, we must be honest as to where we are at. The former Energy Minister, Brian Wilson, said recently, as the windiest country in Europe, we should be angry and embarrassed that every single turbine around us has been imported. I think he makes a fair point. We cannot just talk, as we have done today, about what a good idea a just transition is. We must take action to make it a reality. If we are honest with ourselves, then the actions today have been insufficient for building a new economy for the future. For example, the announcement last month of a £160 million fabrication contract for the Moray East offshore wind farm awarded to a United Arab Emirates-based firm raises many questions. That announcement led to the Scottish Secretary of the GMB, Gary Smith, stating, and I quote, "What we cannot entertain is more of the same across Scotland's renewables sector, where we have been fighting for the scraps from our own table. That certainly is not a just transition towards a low-carbon economy." I have to say I struggle to see where the strategy is for the creation of skills, apprenticeships and jobs in the renewables sector. We need more focus from government at both Scottish and UK levels. Many jobs in this sector are high-skilled and high-waged, but we need the intervention and an industrial strategy to make that happen. Brian Wilson reminds us that in the 1970s, the Offshore Supplies Office was established with the objective of securing 70% of the North Sea supply chain for UK companies. Hundreds of companies ended up providing thousands of jobs as a result. When it comes to renewables, we need an action plan. We need direct intervention from government, and we need that to happen sooner rather than later. The same.
Derek Mackay.
With the member, Alec Rowley, I actually agree with Alec on the benefits that we should enjoy from the onshore supply chain. But does a member not respect, there's matters of commercial confidentiality, but in relation to BIFAB specifically mentioned that the government has intervened in terms of providing necessary support to try and ensure that there's work for the yards in Scotland. Is that not accepted by the member's very welcome intervention? Because last time I met the trade unions, they welcomed it.
Alex Rowley.
Well, I was careful, Presiding Officer, not to mention BIFAB. What I specifically talked about is the contract that was awarded to another company last year. Of course, when it comes to BIFAB, and I'm due to meet the Minister in the coming week to discuss specifically BIFAB, when it comes to BIFAB, I very much welcome the action that the Scottish Government has taken so far. But I think it highlights that for the majority of renewables that are being constructed in Scotland, we are not playing a part in actually constructing, building those. The jobs are going to elsewhere. Other governments have intervened, other governments have directly intervened. So we should learn the lessons of the past, as Brian Wilson says, where there was clear intervention so that people in this country could benefit from the jobs that came from oil and gas. We need to be doing the same. Can also turn, because the truth is true in farming sector as well. The National Farmers Union of Scotland say they recognise the agriculture sector is criticised for its poor performance in terms of reducing emissions. However, believes that better progress can be made if governments work with the industry to invest in resources and advice for food and land management. So again, we see a request to work with government for a plan and for the resources to deliver that plan. We need to have a forward-looking, proactive approach to the economy. This means an industrial strategy, a plan for the future that is clear and strong on actions. Is it not incredible that in 2019, over a quarter of households in Scotland suffer from fuel poverty? Rather than simply changing the definition of fuel poverty and introducing a target to reduce it to 5% by 2040, should we not be putting in place a plan and resources to make better progress now? Part of that would be a skills and training strategy to give people in local communities the jobs that would come with that action. We have a housing crisis in Scotland. Should we not have a national house build strategy, we need to say that housing is a national strategic priority and build the houses we need. Again, if part of that national strategy is that we can ensure the skills and training opportunities are available in every community of Scotland so that jobs are local jobs. So to conclude, a just transition means investment in skills, in training and in jobs for local people. None of this is currently happening on the scale in which it needs to happen. Thank you.